Yeah, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another project. In today's project, we're going to create a image carousel using React. And I'm also going to shamelessly plug all of my courses because, as you can see, these are actually my courses and they are all roughly 70% off today. So hurry up and check out the link down in the description below. And also you can try them out by just clicking on the Learn More button and they should send you to my courses. You can see there's a coupon code applied to each one of them. Now the carousel is moving automatically. We're also going to create two buttons to the left and right, which we can then activate in order to move the images left or right. Also the image title and the description down here will change with each and every image. Also this button right here will send you to another course depending on which image is shown. So this is pretty cool. Now, you can see there's a fade effect and they're also moving automatically. If I would click on one of these two buttons, let's say we're going to go to the next one, this is going to disable our automatic loop. So they're no longer going to move automatically. And we're only going to be left with that little fade optionality. Now, this will also depend on how quickly I'm looping through of them. Okay, so the code is down in the description below. The code is always on my blog, although it could be that I'm going to close the blog and move to something else. We're going to see in the future. Now, I hope you're excited for the project. So I would say we could get started. And if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. This really helps support the channel, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new here and click that notification bell in order to get notified whenever I post a new video. Okay, with this being said, let's jump into the project. So I'm going to leave the project open here and I'm going to go and jump right here into a newly created React app. If you don't know how to create a React application in Visual Studio Code, then please check out the link down in the description below. There should be a video on my blog or on my YouTube channel actually how to install and create your very first React app. As you can see, the project is also completely responsive, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, one last thing about the project, I'm not going to do the CSS part. The CSS part is, the CSS code is down in the description below. So please go ahead, download the code, the CSS code, and copy it into your app right here. I'm just going to take the code right now, and I'm going to paste it right in here in our app. And I'm going to paste it in a new file. So let's first of all go ahead and create our projects. Now, what I like to do is to create here in our source, right click, create new folder. I'm going to call it project. This is actually where the project will live. So right here, I'm going to create a CSS file for my application. So I'm going to call this image carousel style. Okay. And .css. And I'm going to paste the CSS right in here. So we have our CSS created. I'm going to close this one up. Remaining with our project, I'm going to create now a new file. I'm going to call this image, img, carousel, and app.jsx. Going to do here rfc, export it, and I misspelled here carousel, so a. So I'm going to go up here and also import, first things first, our style that we just created. So img, I should do a /, this should be within curly brackets, / because because we're in the same folder. And I'm going to import our image carousel style.css and close up those quotation marks. Okay, so we have our style imported. Now let's also, if you didn't already, do here npm start and start your application. I started my application, but also close it up. Now this should change just in a couple of seconds after you created this little image carousel. We're going to go ahead, go into our app.js, and instead of having this entire thing, the header, I'm going to delete it and import my img carousel as a component here. And also going to be automatically, if this doesn't work for you, then please go ahead and type this out. So import image carousel app from ./project / image carousel app. Okay, because the component lives within here. Okay, we can always see there's a little image carousel like a title up there. Now we're going to change that just in a couple of seconds. I'm going to actually go in here and create go back here. I'm also going to delete this div. I don't need it. I just need a empty fragment. I'm going to create here an HOM with a class of title. And the title will be image carousel app. So I'm going to paste this in here with just image carousel You can also leave it like this. And there we go. There's our little title. Now, it's not little. It's actually extremely large. But let me see. Am I zoomed in here? No, we're at 100%. Okay. So this should automatically take effect because you have already your CSS in here. So you can see the title has a 10 rem. Oh, Jesus. Let's do a 5 rem. Okay. So underneath our H1 is where the carousel will live. Now for this, we need to create that carousel component. So next up, we're going to create the carousel component itself. So the image carousel. Oh, let's just call it carousel. Get a new file, call it carousel.jsx. I'm going to export here, so RFC, a React functional component that's going to be called the carousel itself. Now, this carousel will also have a class name of carousel. And now it's also imported in our app. So let's go back to image carousel app. And within here, we're going to type out carousel, close it up. And if it didn't automatically import it for you, then please go ahead and import carousel from /carousel. Okay, and you should see it right here. I'm going to close up the CSS. I'm going to close up the app. We don't need those anymore. And we're going to go into our carousel component. So let's delete this and let's go down here. So first things first, we're going to need a image somewhere where the image just will be shown. So I'm going to go ahead, create an image tag. And for the source, for now, I'm just going to leave it open. And for the alternative text, I'm going to type in here a carousel /image. Okay, and we should see that broken image sign up there and the alternative text. Now I'm going to also give this a class. So let's give it a class name of carousel-img. Now you won't see any changes because we don't have any kind of image in here. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead in our project, create a new folder. I'm going to call this img. And I'm not going to provide the actual images for you. Now, please don't be sad. You can choose whatever image you want, but they are my personal images, so I cannot provide them for you. These are the actual images for all of the courses. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I should actually have 11 images. I'm going to add them later on, but that's enough for now. So we have here images. So what I could do here is import one of those images. Let's say import the, which one? Very short one, JavaScript. Okay, I'm going to import that one. So let's call this JavaScript. I'm going to import it from /images. And you need to type out the exact name, so JavaScript JPEG. Please be careful to also include the extension of the file name. So now I can use the source here, the variable, as a source, and just copy and paste this in here, and I should already see my image. Perfect. Now let's create a description underneath of this. So I'm going to go ahead and right after the image tag, I'm going to create another div with the class of carousel -description, because within here we're going to paste in the title of the image, the description of the image, and also the button, the action of that image if we want to have any kind of action. So we're going to type in here carousel details. This should be carousel detail there. So details, hit enter, and you know what, you need to change now the class. So carousel details should go into your CSS. You see somewhere here carousel description, and I'm going to change this to details. Okay, I'm also going to change it in my initial one. It's actually much better naming convention. And there we go. Okay, so let's go back, close up the CSS. Don't forget to save it. Also save it right here. And I'm going to make this just a tinge larger. Okay, there we go. So I said that we have within our carousel details, we have, let's take a look at our finished project. We have a title, we have a description, and we have a button right here, some kind of action. So let's go ahead and create those three. I'm going to choose an H2 as a tag and give it a class of carousel-title. This is where the title will live. So let's just type in the title, hit enter. Then right after that H2, we're going to create a paragraph tag with the class of carousel-text. I'm going to type in here text. Okay, and after that, we're going to have a button. Let's go ahead, and I'm not going to create actually a button component, but I'm going to create an anchor tag with an href of, well, nothing for now. Or you could just type in here. So the asterisk means it's not going to go anywhere. We can type in https:// Norbert bm.com, and this should also give it a text of learn or start learning. We typed in start learning, didn't we? Start to learn. Okay, and this should already appear here. Let's also give it a class name of start dash button. You should see it to the right side. And if you click on this button, it should actually send you, oops, I forgot the blank optionality. Wait, we need the property of target underscore and come on, and blank, meaning it's going to open the next page up in a completely new page. And this should send you to my website. Okay, you can find blog posts, courses, tutorials, so on and so on. Okay, so we're done with this part. Now let's create those little next and previous buttons to the left and right side of the carousel. So for this, we're going to jump out of the carousel details. And we're going to create here a button. The first one, actually we're going to create two, but the first one will have a class name of carousel button dash button, and also the class of, because this is going to be the first one, of previous. So prev and dash button. Going to have the text of prev, and it's going to have a on-click event. And I'm going to just leave it as a console log for now. Actually, nothing. I'm going to have here a nothing button. So I'm going to copy this, paste it down here, and then replace this carousel prev or previous button with the next button. And also the text will be here, next. Perfect. Okay, so you can already see those two buttons appearing. If you, whoops, I just misclicked them. If you click on them, nothing will happen. So let's go ahead and start creating some functionality, because this was just the UI. Now we can add some actual effects and state to everything that is in here. But before we do that, we need one last thing, and that is our database. Now you're going to find this also down in the description. You're going to go ahead, go in our project and create a new file. We're going to call this just images, or you can call this images.db, or let's call this data.js. Now within here, I'm going to export a data, actually a variable of const data, and I'm going to assign to this a array. Now this array will contain objects as data. What do I mean by that? Well, our very first object will have an ID of 1, then a image property of React. Now should be a lowercase React. Now this React file is actually, let's go above our export and let's import React from ./images/ and it's going to be the actual React course. So React course thumbnail. Okay, and this right here is now a property in our very first object, or actually key value pair. So this is the value, this little variable right here that we just imported. After this, we're going to give it a title, and the title will be React, the capital R, React course, and then a text of learn React from scratch and become a React developer, and check out the course for this. Okay, and we're also going to add another property or another key value pair of link, and this will be the link to the course itself. Okay, now I'm going to copy in the rest of them, and also I'm going to copy in their paths. So I'm going to go ahead, paste in all of the paths, and also paste in the rest of the objects. And you can find them down in the video description. So go ahead, copy and paste them in. Okay, we can close up this database. And now we need to go to our carousel. And up here, we're going to accept a prop. And that prop will be our data. Let's type in here, data. Now we're going to go to our image carousel app. Import here the data. So import data from ./data. And we're going to add it here as data. And accept data. Oh yeah, and this should be actually between curly brackets because we exported as a variable. So now you're wondering, what are we doing here? We're still seeing one image. Now let's go back to our carousel. And you can actually also close up this entire application, import image carousel app. You can close it up. All we need the entire thing will, our entire action will now happen right here within our carousels. You can also comment out, actually I'm going to comment out, but you can delete this import JavaScript blah blah blah, because you don't need it anymore. What you do need is right here within your source, you're going to type in here data, then current index. You're going to step out of this and choose the img property, not ing, that's a bank, img property from here. Now it's going to look for the current index. Now what exactly are we doing here? We will create a state. So let's go up here, comma, react and import useState. I'm going to go down before I return. I'm also going to close up the left part and the navigation. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Open this up again, Control Z. Okay, so I'm going to close up this navigation part, Command B. And before I return, let's create here a const and call this current index, and then set current index, and let's assign this to useState, and the state for the start will be 0. So the current index is 0. Yeah, I'm going to get an error. No worries. And 0 will be the very first position from our array. And we just imported from data the current index, which is 0. And we're using the image property. And this is why you're going to see React. The React image right here. Because if you would check out, let's open now up our database. The very first item in here is your actual React image. Or well, the object which has as a property the React image. If I would change this to, let's say, responsive design, then the image should change. Okay, so let's hit save again. You're going to get your React course right there. Going to close up the data. Now, next thing that we need to do is go ahead and use also the title from this down here in our title. We're going to go down where we have our, let's go down here, where we have our title. So courses title, and instead of title, or we could actually do something like this. We're going to wrap this in a curly bracket. We're going to wrap this in a quotation mark. Also close up the left part so you can see more. And we're going to say that if there is a title, so if there is an image, there's a data, and from that the current index dot title exists, then display that title. If not, then display the text of title. So we're still seeing title here, and because we need here a question mark and then column, and then they should be right here. Okay, so if there is a data current text of title, then display it. If there's none, then display title. Now we're going to do the same thing for the text. So we're going to wrap this into quotation marks, a string, then we're going to wrap this into curly brackets, and we're going to do the same thing down here. So if there is now a dot text, then display that text. So I'm going to copy it once again, and if not, then display text. So obviously we're going to have this one displayed. We're going to have the description displayed. Okay. Oh, and by the way, if you see this text line center, that actually something is interfering with your CSS, and that would be the app CSS. So I would suggest that you go right here. Either you comment it out or you could just delete it. Okay, now hit save, and this should align it accordingly. Also in your index, just comment out everything so you don't have any kind of miscommunication there between your multiple CSS files. Okay, so we got our title, we got our text. Now we need to activate the button or to assign some kind of functionality to that button. And obviously that button will have now the image where you have it, button. There we go. Oops, let's also close up the left part. We have our button class, we have our target, and we have our href. Now the href is the trick here because the href should not send us, actually I'm just going to comment that one out and create another href. And this should send you to the data and current index dot link. This is why we created that link. Okay, now if you click on this little start to learn, it should send you to the React course on Udemy. Excellent. So let's close that tab up. And now we need to make our carousel move. So we're going to go up and create, you know what, I'm going to also close the console and create another state. So let's create a const. We're going to pass in here actually don't need a state, we need to create a useEffect. So let's bring in first of all useEffect. useEffect as another hook. Let's go down underneath our const, but before I return, and let's type in here also a comment, because they're going to create here our auto play functionality. Okay, So this is pretty simple. We're just going to use useEffect. Let's assign here a arrow function. Now each time useEffect is called, actually it's called on the start of the page, then we're going to set the current index, and first we're going to take in the previous index here as the argument, and we're going to pass it down in a function that is just going to take the previous index plus 1, add 1 to it, then use the percentage sign and the image, or actually the data dot length. Don't forget, we're using here an array, so we can use that length property, and woo, that's extremely quick. So what we're going to do here is actually set it into a set interval function. So let me just comment it out, hit save. Okay, that just stopped. So let's create a const, call it interval, and let's use our set interval function on it. Assign it to a callback function, and within our callback function, we're going to move our little friend in here, and let's comment it back in. And now set interval. So let's use here a curly bracket. Now set interval also needs an interval, so we're going to add here a comma at the end and 2,500, which will be milliseconds. What did I type here? Use interval is set interval. There we go. So every 2,500 milliseconds, which are 2.5 seconds, this is going to change the image. Now you can see that the image changing so abruptly. I would suggest that let's also clear the interval. So let's return and use here the arrow function, and we're going to clear the interval. So clear interval, and clear interval will clear that little function that we just created up there. Perfect. Now the last thing that we need to do, or actually not the last thing, but one of the things that we need to do is add to this a fade effect. Now for the fade effect, we need to go up and create here another state. So let's create a const. Let's call it fade, then set fade as the setter function. And we're going to assign this to useState, and the state will be false at the start. Okay, so we're going to use there the boolean of false. Now, where should we use our fade state? Well, actually on the image. So we're going to go down to the image. Where do you have the image? There's the title, and there's the image. You can see we have a class of carousel image. Now I'm going to pack this into curly brackets, and I'm going to ask React, hey, if there is a class of fade, so I'm going to just add to it. There's also another way using backticks and so far so on, but we're going to do it now this way. So fade, if there is a state of fade, and if that state is true, then add here a class of fade. And if there's not, then just add nothing. Now in this case, we could actually use something different, and that is ampersand, double ampersand, and just type in fade. So if fade exists, then apply that fade class. So because the state here is false, we need something that's going to set that state to true. Now, what kind of function could set this automatically to true? Well, useEffect. So when everything starts, then this should run, or this will run and start looping over each and every image. So we can use this to set the state of fade. So set fade, and we're going to set it to true. Okay, let's hit save. And I messed something up here, so let's just check it very quickly. So class name fade. Oh yeah, and I missed here the little space bar. Okay, now this should work. So add a space right after your fade in order to let some space for the next class, to leave some space for the next class. Okay, now carousel image plus, this is why we need that space, this little fade class added to it using our useState hook will add another class of fade, and also remove it right after it, because don't forget this is taking effect only once. Okay, next up, let's add functionality to our little buttons right here, to left and right. So next and previous, and we're going to use here, let's go up here, we're going to go ahead and type in another comma next and prev func. So I'm going to create two handlers. One will handle the next functionality, and the other one will handle the previous functionality. So let's create a const, let's call it handle, and let's call this one next, assign it to an arrow function, and I'm going to copy this. You know what, let me actually set it first of all. So I'm going to use here the set current index, add to it the previous index, and then add to it a previous index. So exactly as we were doing it in our automatic loop, we're just going to add the functionality to the button. And then after that, %sign and the data dot length property. Okay, now let's add. So we're going to take this handle next effect and copy it or function, and we're going to paste it down here, and we're going to change it to handle prev. Okay, and in order to change this to a previous, we're just going to change this to a minus sign, and that's basically all. Now let's take our handle next and pass it in our function down here. So on click handle next, and on click down here. Actually, this is the handle next. What am I doing? So the bottom one is handle the next image, and the upper one is handle the previous image. Okay, and this should already work. So if you click on next, it should give you the next image, and this should still work, or actually autoplay. If you want to stop the autoplay, then let's go ahead and create that one. Now we need to go up here and create another state. Let's call this const, and let's pause autoplay, and let's set pause autoplay. Okay, we're going to assign this to the state of useState, and we're going to assign this to the boolean of false. And first things first, we're going to ask our set interval here that you should only then autoplay if this is false, or if the state is false, or actually if the state is true. Now in order to set the state to true, or pause autoplay, use here ampersand, and I'm going to use here a exclamation mark. So if this is true, then autoplay. Now it's still playing because the initial state is true, is false, and we're negating it here with the sign right there, the exclamation mark. So it's true. So if this autoplay is true, then play, baby, play. Now if it's false, then you should stop playing. Now where can we set it as false? Well, we need to set it in two places, and that is our next and previous buttons. So let's go ahead here and let's set autoplay to true. You know what? Let's change it. Let's change this to true, the initial state. I'm going to take out this exclamation mark because this is true, and I'm going to change it here to false. Okay, and now I'm going to copy it and paste it also to the previous button. So let's click on next, and it should stop autoplaying. Again, next, 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 previous, previous, and there we go. Autoplay was just stopped. And there we go. We should have created a little carousel here. Let's do a refresh. That is going to loop through images or courses. And if you click on either one of those, learn more, it's going to send you to my courses. So hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If you have any kind of questions or suggestions for future projects, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you're not subscribed, then consider subscribing because you're posting new videos like this on a weekly basis. So also click that notification bell. With this being said, catch you next time. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.